Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Lathan. I'm the Manager of Marketing and Communications at Fort Worth Opera. Welcome to the fourth masterclass of Jennifer Rowley's Virtual Artist Residency this summer. Thank you. Yay! Woo.
Yay!
We're so happy to have you here, Jen. Thank you so much for joining us today. This week, we are excited to have with us a very special guest, Scott Guzielek, Vice President and General Manager of the Academy of Vocal Arts in Philadelphia.
Yay!
Yay. It's an honor to have you here with us today, Scott. Congratulations to our 5 singers. We look forward to hearing you, and I hand it over to you now.
Oh, thanks, honey. Hi, everybody. For those who have been here before, you know how this works. For those who haven't, my name is Jennifer Rowley. So happy to have Scott with us today on this masterclass, which is going to be all about the YAP, because we need to know all about the YAP. As always, please feel free to keep that chat going. We love it. I love seeing your positive energy and reinforcement up there. Thank you guys so much for doing that. It's really fabulous. And if you have questions, also shoot those up in the chat. Hopefully, when we finish with our singers, we will have time for some Q&A. Oh, I'm on the beach, Christine. I'm jealous, girl. Hopefully, we will have some time for some Q&A at the end so that you guys can ask the questions that you are dying to know. But first, we will start with the questions that I am dying to know. So, Scott, thank you so much for being here with us today. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Scott is currently the General Manager and the Vice President of the Academy of Vocal Arts in Philadelphia, but he has also run Palm Beach Opera, as well as the Young Artist Program there. Am I correct about that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
As well as worked at Washington National Opera for 7 seasons?
Well, overall it was 11, but 7 is
11 seasons.
Yeah, but
amazing.
11 is artistic administrator. I started there as an intern, actually, in in education in 2002.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you have been around the Young Artist programs pretty much your whole career.
Absolutely.
And you have made it a point to champion young artists, and now even more so at the Academy of Vocal Arts. We all know what a fantastic school that is, and the incredible voices that have come out of that school. Angela Mead, Michael Fabiano. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So thank you so much for all that you're giving to the young artists of the United States, really. I mean, it's amazing. And also you judge a lot of competitions as well. Scott and I actually met each other judging the Metropolitan Opera competition for the Michigan District. What was that, 3 seasons ago?
Yeah, I think so.
Like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. It was such a great time. So I knew I had to have Scott on this class because he has all the knowledge that we want to have, right? So the first thing I wanted to talk about was sort of the path for the American young artist. We all sort of know that the ideal way that America sort of wants the young artists to go is undergraduate, graduate, young artist program, emerging professional, and heading into the business. Can you tell me what's so important about that YAP stage, about the young artist stage, where you're either in a year-long young artist program or a summer young artist program or a combination of those? What is so important about that phase in your development? What do we learn? And what are the tools that you think are most important about that particular phase of the path in America that the young artists really need to have when they enter the actual professional world of our business?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. So, for me, the important part about young artist programs is figuring out how to transition to become a professional singer, right? And how do you leave academia behind? How do you leave all of the stuff that comes with academia, right? The different studios and the silliness that happens between people there, and how do you become really a singer? How do you become a professional?
And that's where, I mean, there are various types of young artist programs. So it's just generalized for a little bit. I think the things that are most important about them, um, you're singing all the time. And I'm a big believer in that young singers actually don't sing enough.
Agree.
That
Agree.
you really have to, in order for the voice to grow and to be strong and to figure out what it is you do, you have to sing a lot. I mean, at APA, the singers sing a lot. In Palm Beach, I always told the singers, you're going to sing more here than you probably ever have in your careers thus far. And you can do it because you're going to be expected to do it when you get out, when you come out of young artist programs and go into a rehearsal room, and you will be expected to sing 6 hours a day. Because it makes artistic administrators very nervous when singers don't sing in rehearsal. It's one of my pet peeves. I understand, like, you're gonna have to mark, right? If you're singing some high flying stuff, you're not gonna sing a gajillion C's in a day. Get it, right? But after a while, you gotta sing also because you have to figure out how it gets into your body, right? How does the staging and the voice and everything go together? And when you leave those in the vacuum too long, it never comes together, right? And you're trying to put it together at the last minute. So I think that's important. I think it's time where watching a professional setting, actually watching a professional rehearsal run, how a conductor works, how a stage director works, how stage management works, how do you interact even with the dresser? You know, you finally get into it, you know, you're not in school anymore. This is professional dressers. They aren't your friends that are helping downstairs. I think all of these things are important parts of becoming a professional singer, right? And
totally agree.
You know, at Palm Beach, you know, we had a very different kind of program. For those of you that know how Palm Beach Opera works, it's a very seasonal company now. Basically, the young artists were there from November 1 to the end of March, early April. And the main focus, actually, and when I got there, we only had eight young artists. And they were really doing everything. So they were in the chorus, they were covering major roles, they were singing the smaller roles, and doing all the education and outreach. And which was great, but what I realized is that after a while, that was too much. So if I'm asking a singer to go, and we're trying to train singers, professional singers, and to say to a singer, you have to be in a school at 7 o'clock and then be at rehearsal to 10 o'clock that night, just wasn't working.
No, that's a lot. That's a lot.
That's where and I said, and we couldn't keep up with the demand of the education department. So that's where I created a second tier with the apprentice artist program. And we sort of divided up the work so that the apprentices did a lot of the chorus work and all the education stuff. The young artists did mostly the small roles, covered the larger roles. Everybody though received the same training. So that was the caveat, is that yes, you were doing different things, but everybody had the same access to coachings and lessons and whatever we offered. So there wasn't tiered that way in terms of the training, it was just tiered in terms of the responsibility. So by the time I left, we had 18 singers there for 5 months.
Amazing. Amazing.
I think it was actually probably one of the bigger programs by the time I left in those months, not the summer, you know, not the Glimmer Glass and the Santa Fe, those guys, but in our months, I think outside of Sarasota, we were probably the biggest one. So that's
it sounds like it.
That's sort of my thoughts on why I think this step is important. The tricky part of this step is that, let's just face it for a minute, there are more of you than there are young artist programs.
Yes.
Right? So that is, I get that, that's tricky. And I think there is a path forward even without, I'll say that. But,
of course.
But it's certainly, of course, there's an advantage to being in these programs. Long-winded.
I think it's
Cut me off,
the
Jennifer.
but the continuing education of it, right? It yes, takes you out of that school environment, which is so important, because in that school environment, we get so dependent on that teacher and what that teacher says. And can I do this or can I not? I have to ask my teacher. No, in the real world, it's your choice. And so providing that sort of transition out of that educational experience into a nurtured environment where you can ask questions and you can continue to have guidance from the coachings and from you and, from any of the other administrators, but ultimately understand that your development is then in your hands.
Right.
And how you work in the Young Artist Program then becomes your decision. Are you going to work like a professional, or are you going to work like a student and continue to, stay in that sort of frame of mind? And
Right.
I think that the step it's a huge one and it's important. And no, it doesn't have to happen. I mean, everyone who's been on some of the other classes knows I didn't do a major Young Artist Program until I was 27 years old. So when I left Indiana University, I went and worked in an office because I didn't get into any Young Artist Programs. I didn't get into AVA. It wasn't something that was an option for me
Right.
until I figured out my voice. And then Opera Theater of St. Louis said, okay, now you're ready, come cover Violetta. That's right, Bonnie Joy. Everyone's journey is very, very different. But I do think that in the United States, and actually in Europe as well, that step of a Young Artist Program or multiple Young Artist Programs is quite important for you to learn how, like Scott said, to be a professional.
Right.
And it's hard to do if you transfer directly out of school and think, oh, I'm going to go get a manager and go into the business without that working knowledge of what the business actually is. So I love that information. Thank you so much for that. When you were and are casting your young artists,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the things that really spark your interest when you hear an audition? What qualities are you looking for when you're sitting behind the table and saying, you know what, this girl could work really well in our program, and why? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So at Palm Beach, I was always very specific when we put out the posts for young artists. So again, because they were covering leading roles and singing smaller roles, I was very specific in my audition notices. We're looking for a soprano that does X. We're doing for a mezzo. I mean, I know some of you may have seen our audition ads. I was always very clear because I had very specific things to cast. So that was part of how I approach at the first, in Palm Beach. I also, we were busy. It was basically a small festival, right? And so it boom, 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 boom. And we did a lot of coaching. We did a lot of things, but I really needed voices that were really well put together. I didn't have the resources nor the time to sort of fix, right? Those are the year-long programs are where you can take a voice that really needs a lot of work and nurturing. We needed people who were ready to sing.
We're ready.
And frankly, cover major roles. And by cover, I meant you might have to go on.
You go. Yeah, exactly.
Because in Florida, West Palm Beach, it's not like being when I was here in DC, where it's a 2-hour train ride down from Philly or whatever. If you didn't know by noon that you needed a replacement, you were in big trouble at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So they had to be really ready to go. So that's sort of when I cast. Now, when I listen to auditions, so that was sort of a big criteria for me. Listening to auditions. Is the basic instrument in really good shape? Is it technically solid? Is it well produced? Of course, I always say that this is a completely subjective business, right? And we all have to be okay with that. So I have a personal taste. There are voices that I like that my colleagues don't like. There are voices they like, I don't like. And that doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just we have different tastes, or else, we'd all be one opera company like Diet Coke and be it. It'd be really boring. So I always say, you have to be okay with that. And just because I didn't hire you doesn't mean you're a bad singer. It's just, I may have been looking for something else, or I have a particular, in my head, a Mimi sounds like this. And that's okay, right? And that's just sort of my taste. And when auditioning is so hard, and I get it. And I think everybody's gonna shake their head. And this is the first time I'm ever doing an audition. It's the process sucks, right? So let's just be honest. Like it's just horrible. So people that are confident, people that know who they are as a singer, I think that's the hardest thing for you all is the business puts a lot of, like, you have to have this aria and this aria and a German and a French and a da-da. And some people that just doesn't work for. Like,
yes.
And so again, when you're coming out of school, you check all those boxes, right? You have to check, you have your French aria, you have your German aria, you have your Italian aria, great. But after then you have to become your singer, right? So, and you have to figure out what you sing, and you have to say, you know what, I don't really like singing German repertoire. It doesn't fit my voice.
Yes.
It's not what I do. And so you start sort of narrowing in and stop checking the boxes all the time. So I think that's
I'm so happy that you brought that up. I'm so happy that you brought that up, because that's literally my follow-up question to this, is the 5 aria contrasting package.
Yeah.
Right? How does it change for you when you're listening to a young artist? We asked this question of David Lomeli as well on our second class, and we said, what is that 5 contrasting aria package? How, in school they teach us it's a Baroque, a Mozart, a Italian, a French, a German, a blah blah, but that's not everybody. No. Right? And when I go to an audition, I'm telling you what, I've got 4 Italian arias and a French, just because the French is bel canto and I like to sing in French. But I'm going with like 2 Verdis, a bel canto, and like a Puccini, right? But that's what I do. So when you're looking at a young artist, do you want to see that kind of list? You want to see those 5 contrasting arias? Is that kind of the
I think the list,
the general?
I always have this caveat is that you have to do whatever that particular person is asking you to audition with, right? So
right, of course.
Right, if the requirements are this, or St. Louis wants something in English because you're going to sing in English.
Right, because they do everything in English. Yes, exactly.
So for me, what I want to see on a list are things that show off your voice, right? I want to hear you actually, what you sound good at, what you sing. I want to hear the voice. So for me, I don't care if it's 2 Italian things. If it's one of them shows that the voice can move, one of them shows that you actually have a top. It's like, when I look at a list sometimes for a soprano, I'm like, so that whole list, the highest thing here goes to G. So it's like,
right, where's the high C?
Yes. You need to have something that might show that, where's your C? Or I'm going to ask for it. Those. How low does the voice go? How, same thing, you can go all down the Fox. But so for me, I just wanted things that show your voice off. There's a lot of pieces, and we want to get into them, that I don't think are great audition pieces, because I want to hear what the voice does, right? And so sometimes, yes, I want you to say something, and that's really important too. Right? And something that you connect with, something that you like to sing. I can always tell when a singer is singing something that they actually enjoy singing. Because it's just different, right? And you're like, I'm not shoved in this box, and I hate this German aria, but I've got to sing it, and it's terrible. I hate Pamina. I don't like her as a character, now I have to sing her. It's like, no, that's silly. Don't do that.
Doesn't work. Never works. Never works.
So that's sort of my thoughts on sort of this list. And I think this list will change, right? And it has to keep changing, and things are going to come onto it. Things are going to come off. I will say, never put something on there that you aren't ready to sing. I can't tell you how many times in audition where I pick something and the look on a singer's face is like, oh my God, why should I do that? And I was like, it's on your list. So,
it's on your list, so you have to sing it. Yeah.
This is also, to talk briefly, I always call it sort of audition roulette. Don't try to play audition roulette, right? So you're trying to do my job for me. So you cannot say, oh, if I sing Puccini, then he'll ask for Mozart. Or if you can't do it. It doesn't
You
work.
can't.
Don't do my job for me.
Yes.
You don't know what I'm hearing. You don't know why I'm hearing it. Sometimes after the first song, I like the voice so much. I just want to hear something that it's
That
like
you like.
I made my decision. So it's like, great.
Yeah.
I want to just hear it.
Yeah.
So don't put things on there that you've coached well. They're in your voice. I can't tell you the number of times where somebody will say, "Oh, this is the first time I've ever sung this in audition." It's like,
No.
there is always going to be that first time, but it's always like, but maybe sing it a few more times, get it in your voice. Like, oh, I just had this last week, just learned it. It's like, whoa.
Sing it in front of your peers first. Like,
Yeah.
take it to, do a little like friends repertoire night in your apartment and sing it in front of your girlfriends first, and then take it to the audition. Awesome. I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's move into what you're thinking about, what our fall season is going to look like as far as young artist programs and auditioning is concerned. We pretty much know that everything in our business is pretty much canceled until January, right? So the possibility for the summer young artist programs to happen next season is pretty high, which is great. And let's keep that positive energy going, right? But that also means that the auditions in the fall probably aren't going to happen the way we are used to them happening, right? Probably they are going to happen in a virtual way. Probably you are going to have to record video. Probably you are going to have to put together a virtual package that you send, and that looks professional and polished and fantastic. So can you talk a little bit about what the creative things going on behind the scenes are to actually make some sort of auditions happen for young artists in the fall, and what you think those auditions are going to look like?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll start by saying this is just a crazy time. I mean, this is just nuts, right? And I was talking to Jen, and I said, I'm talking with a donor here, and she used a really great analogy, which I think is good. Is that on March whatever, for 13th for some of us, 16, 17, middle of March, we were all zooming down the highway, and we got totally detoured onto this wonky bridge, right? We're on this weird bridge now. We got on it. We don't know when it will end. It dips and turns and does all these things, but there will be an end, right? We are going to get over this. And when we get through it, there will still be opera. I guarantee you there still will be opera. I was running a company when 2008, 2009 happened, and everybody thought the arts were going to be dead, and there's not. Because in the end, this forum is not going to replace going to the theater. It's not going to replace the ballet. It's not going to replace going to the musical theater. It's not going to replace going to a baseball game, right? So let's be honest. Like, we're going to get through this, and something's going to happen, and we're going to be fine. Now, what this fall is going to look like is it's going to be very different. And I think we're all grappling as administrators, and you should know, I mean, my colleagues and I talked with a lot of people, general directors, artistic administrators, and everybody's trying to figure out how to do this, right? There's no playbook. There's no pandemic playbook for opera. It's like, we're all just making this up and trying to figure it out. So it's, first of all, I mean, yes, it's all going to be virtual. I don't think there will be a live audition taking place. So that's going to pose some interesting problems, challenging. So you're going to have to, again, hone in on your rep list. You're going to have to make sure that you're presenting the things that you sing well and that show off again, I say show off your voice, because it's going to become even more, if you only get to submit 2 things, you have to make sure that they're really things that show off your voice.
Yes, absolutely.
Everybody's access to technology is going to be very different. There's a big talk in the Upper America about how we sort of level the playing field with that, so that we don't judge based on somebody's technological capability.
Technology, yeah.
That we have to really just try to figure out what that voice is. But to that extent, you know, there are some really good microphones out there that aren't that expensive. Even that
Yes.
will help a ton versus recording just on your iPhone.
Yes.
Because the iPhone is going to, by nature, the way they work, collapses the sound, it compresses the sound. So especially you high voices or big voices, forget it. Like, it just doesn't work.
Yes.
So again, make sure all of your material, now is the time to make sure your materials are really spiffy. Make sure your resumes are really in great shape, that there's no chance for spelling errors, that there's, you know, that you send them the right way, that they're you know, put together, all these things. I just think it's important that you, because it's all happening virtually, you have to show yourself as a singer in a very different way.
Yes.
But still, you have to figure out how to express. You have to show us something, right? And you have to, so it's going to be even harder to make these videos because you're singing into the abyss. You're just singing into a camera. But you have to find that way that you connect with what you're singing, so that we actually see who you are. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely.
I
And
say at AVA,
yeah.
something we're doing to help our singers is we're actually going to record everybody's audition packages. So will be the project of the school, is to actually bring in people to record, and everybody will have 6 or 7 arias sort of in the can to use this year. Now,
Fabulous.
I know that everybody can't do that, but you know, this is a time to talk with your friends. You might have somebody that has a really great camera. You have, you know, good microphone. Find a good space. Right. Be cognizant of the space you're singing in. You know, it might sound great to sing in a real vibrant, reverberant, you know, sort of dining room, but it's actually sometimes can distort the sound when you record.
Yes.
Sometimes even better to sing in a deader space. So test a few things out. Find a friend that you know, that you trust, or somebody you trust, to send a recording to first. What do you think about this? How's the sound? How's, you know, the lighting? These things. Just take the time now to start working through some of those things, because the deadlines are going to come fast.
They're going to come. They're going to come really fast. You're absolutely right. And I think that's a really great point that you make, Scott. If you have a group of friends, maybe you're still in school, and there are 5 of you that know you're going to submit auditions. Why don't all 5 of you go in on the Shure M88 Plus mic? I think it's $250. If you all pay $25, that's a pretty cheap mic. And then maybe you donate it to the school or something when you're finished with it. Or maybe we use one person's iPad and it all comes together. Maybe you all pay for a pianist to help you record 2 arias with a live pianist wearing a mask. That works just fine. Then you're not singing with the track, and the track is hard. Let's face it. The track is hard, and all of you singing today who are singing with the track, we love you, we applaud you, we don't care if you're not with the track. Doesn't matter to us, right? But I know, as a singer, I know that you get in your head and you say, oh God, I wasn't with the track, I wasn't this, I know. But maybe it's better if you and a couple of your friends split the pianist's fee, go into a room in somebody's house who has a piano or a keyboard, all have your masks on or whatever, and you all give that pianist a fee to record several arias. Then you actually have people in the room that you can sing to as well. You feel maybe a little bit more connected to the text, things like that, and perform for each other while someone's making the recording, and give that pianist a fee, because we all know the pianists are out of work right now too. Right. So, you know, if you can give that pianist a fee, that's awesome. I think, you know, as Scott said, the institutions and the programs, everybody has to be creative right now.
Right.
And that also means that the singers have to be creative as well, which is what we're doing with these fabulous masterclasses. We are trying to be creative. So it's a big thing. You're going to have to be creative. You're going to have to come up with a way. And yes, money is tight, and that's fine. Get a couple of people together, everybody go in on a mic or something like that, and make it work. Don't not submit because you didn't feel you had the money to put together a good audition. In that case, do it on your phone. We can hear the sound of the voice. You know, if you really feel like you're ready and you want to submit, don't not do it because you couldn't afford the big room at Opera America with the technology and the this and the that and the whatever. Don't not do it because of that. You know, stand in your living room with your track on your iPad and do it that way. That's what you have to do.
But there's enough technology out there that I think is reasonable in price that
agree.
If you do pull together, and be realistic when you record. Don't try to smash through the 5 arias in 20 minutes. You've got time right now, so make sure it's fresh every time you sing. You have the luxury of having a little bit of time. So I would say it's important to record 2 in a day. Listen to them, put them down for a little bit, listen to them, come back to them and say, okay, yeah, that one's good. And you have to be honest. I mean, that's the other part, is that the self-honesty is going to become very important.
Yes, absolutely. Or send them to a friend and say, hey, what do you think about this? And have them give you, someone you trust, or a coach, or your pianist.
Going to be honest with you.
Someone that's going to be honest.
Not somebody's going to tell you you're great. Somebody's going to tell you, this is flat, this is out of tune, this is they have to be brutally honest. And help. I mean, in a helpful way. I'm not saying smash your spirits, but I'm saying,
Yes, absolutely. So let's segue into hearing some of our beautiful young artists today. We are also going to, I'm going to share screen when we finish each singer. We're going to look at those materials. We're going to have a look at the headshots. We're going to have a look at the resumes. And Scott's going to help us put together a really professional, fantastic audition package for all of you on the class today. Not just the 5 singers. These are tips that all of you can take home, write it down, and fix your own materials and things like that as well. So shall we get started with Miss Gina? Gina, are you there? Yes. Great. All right. Let's get started.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gina Hanslick, and I'm going to start with Caro Nome by Verdi. Oh
Bravissima. Brava, 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 brava.
Thank
Bravo.
you.
We are all applauding. I don't know if you can see everyone, but everyone's applauding. Bravissima. I just want to say very quickly before I throw it over to Scott, bravo to you to do exactly what you wanted to do at the end and not even worry about that track. I
Right.
applaud you for that. Thank you. That is such a good lesson for every single person on this class right now. Who cares what that track did? She finished it the way she wanted to, and it was absolutely brilliant and stunning and fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Gina, for doing that.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Rowley. Thank you.
I'm going to throw it right over to Scott, and I'm going to share my screen while he's talking, and we will get started.
All right. So I always start all of my, especially when I do the Met, I always start with saying, I only know you from one aria right now. And it's on the screen. I'm getting some feedback.
Probably from when I just did the screen. Hold on a second. Let me stop.
Let's see.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Is it better now? Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do it this way. All right.
Okay, that's fine. So anyway, I think that's a very good choice for you. I think this aria fits your voice very, very beautifully.
Thank you.
It's there are a few things that I would like Jen to work on, but overall, you know, I'll always say this is one of those arias that's always very tricky in audition for me. It's not my favorite aria. I'm going to tell you that right now, and you hear it a lot. But you did a very good job with it. The thing that's hard about this aria is capturing Gilda's that sort of nervous energy, right? And how do you? And it's capturing it, but making sure that the voice is still functioning, it's still with the right amount of breath. And I think that we can take it a step further. So for example, in the beginning, when the voice is moving, the consistency is much better, right? Because it's much more on the breath, and I hear actually a very clear, pure sound. The vibrato is much more consistent. In the beginning, it's not as consistent. So I would like to find a way to, and I think part of that is these stupid rests that he puts in at this first line, right? And I think that you have to think of this first line, this cardinome, is a big long phrase, and the rest right now it feels like you're looking at the rest and it's like we're pumping the gas, right? So right, and you're sort of like starting the engine every time instead of figuring out how to just give little lifts off that line to create that sort of oh my God, I can't believe I said his name, and oh my God, this is, so I would love to figure out if we can work on that a little bit, because I think that will help. Because once you get moving, its voice is very beautiful. Everything is functioning. But that's this first line, those first two lines in the rested and then the first line of the aria, or whatever, is when everybody puts their heads down and starts writing.
Right.
That's right.
Right? So, and the cadenza, I think the cadenza is very good. I would even love it to feel more like, why does he give you that cadenza? Right? It's like, there are no more words anymore. Like, you just have, she's so sort of worked up in all this that the only way is sort of like, all this color to her, it's because she's just so damn excited, right? So even more sort of freedom and expression there. Does that make sense?
Totally.
I mean, it's very good, but I think there's even a way. Maybe it's hard with dynamics. It's hard. I'm not even going to comment on dynamics. It's over the computer. I'm going to do it. But that's where you can really start having some fun. I mean, a real beautiful pianissimo and play around with that a little bit. So those are my my first thoughts. Jen, what do you want to work a little bit?
I 1000% agree with you. And Gina, the voice is really, really beautiful. And from about F and up, the folds are fully closed all the time. In the middle voice, however, I'm getting some air, which means number one, the air is not spinning completely and fast enough. And number two, the larynx is too high. So I bet the larynx is sitting maybe like a quarter of an inch too high. However, I don't want you to start like futzing with technique in 15 minutes, right? But I will show you how to sort of get the body to do this first line, this caro no me mio, because it really is, it's that she got so, I mean, he was there, right? He was there and she got hot and bothered and she can't catch her breath. It's that. But we can't go caro no me mio. We can't do that. Right? And then our larynx is in our nose, right? So you have to do it with a small pulse of the diaphragm and the muscles around the diaphragm. So if we look right here and we go, there we go. If we go, you can get that space while also leaving the folds fully closed so that it's not air passing through each time. It's just I don't know, and like Scott said, it is one line. It would, if she were stable, it would be but she's not stable. She's freaking out, right? So you got to get those underlying butterflies in that legato line because that's the ornament, right? Verdi writes this beautiful line and he ornaments it by making it like this, right? You don't have to turn your recording on. I can help you here, but can you just try that? Can you try to start from caro nome and just put your hands right underneath the rib cage so that you can feel the diaphragm really release. Caro nome che il mio cuore si pri. Well, understand what I mean?
Yeah.
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 In. Uh. Bravo. So now you have it technically. Now make each of those little releases of the diaphragm mean something, right?
Okay.
So the technique doesn't change, just like Scott said in the beginning of our class. You're learning in rehearsal to walk around while also keeping that technique going. So even though we're interpreting that little technique of the action of the diaphragm, it doesn't change, but we need that quality, right? Without raising the larynx, without coming off of the support.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Of course.
So use that technique that we just did and try to make something of those little, of those. Yeah, try. Ka. Let the diaphragm do it. Up. Now it's even more. Gina, already.
So that's so much better. And the thing is, your voice now, you're starting with a really great foundation. So instead of starting in a way that you haven't actively engaged the whole instrument, right? And so then you're like, oh God, now the high note's coming. Oh God, now I gotta, where's the support? You're like, no, it's already there. The machine.
It's already there.
Right?
That's
and so the voice is so much more solid. That's right there is much more, that's really great. To do that in sort of two sort of times, to me that's so much better, because I'm like, oh good, now the rest is going to be easy.
Yeah,
because
it's easy.
Starting on the right footing, right?
And Gina, that first note, that Gualtier, which is so treacherous, we all know this. Gualtier, he did something so wonderful for you. And Verdi's a genius like this. He gave you Gualtier. He gave you two open vowels with a gu. So it's a larynx lowerer. Gualtier, it's already the. If you sing that and support that gu, you will anchor that larynx and you will never come off of that E ever again.
Ever. Okay.
Yes? Try. Okay. Release the larynx when you breathe and feel right here. Gu, gu, gu. You see my larynx go down? Gu, 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 and then you can decrescendo by changing the shape rather than grabbing from the throat. Sorry, wrong note. Gu, gu. Spin. Keep spinning. Then you'll never come off of it because the larynx is lowered and anchored, and then you can just spin that air. That's it. When you're doing these longer notes too, guys, everybody, the messa di voce, you can count. You can in your head go 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you will have the most perfect messa di voce in the world, and no one will ever know that you're counting to 4 in your head. Okay? But keep that air spinning through the whole thing. Listen to that vibrato, that brilliant, beautiful. The minute you hear that vibrato become inconsistent, you've grabbed, right? So he gives you that whoop, 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 whoop. Just leave it there.
Okay.
It's open.
Okay.
Spin the air through it and leave it there. Try one more time. Whoop. And then you have air forever.
Right.
Yeah, because the larynx isn't restricting the flow of the air. When the larynx is too high, it restricts the flow because it cannot move the folds as quickly as it wants to.
Right.
Yeah?
Yes.
Let's take a peek, shall we, I'm going to just hold up my phone. Since I can't share my screen, it's giving stupid feedback. Let's take a peek at the resume, and I think it looks pretty good.
Yes.
But Scott, I would love to know, I'm going to move my halo here. I'm going to move it a little closer. Okay, it looks pretty good. I mean, obviously it's a little bit blurry, but we've got that beautiful photo on the top. Everything seems pretty clear and laid out to me. Is there anything that you would advise on this, Scott?
No, I mean, I pulled it up on my computer, so I have a bigger, no,
Okay.
I think this is very well laid out. I asked, I think, did we share this with the group or?
No, so I want to share my screen, but that's when we got the feedback. So
Okay.
I could try to do it again and see what we get. Let's see. What if we do this? And oh no, okay, don't do that. Let's try this one. Okay, starting, let me know what happens here. Technology is our friend. Technology is our friend.
Let's see.
Okay, how do we sound?
No, it comes back at me.
Okay, let me just go.
It's okay.
I'll just go
It's okay.
here and we'll pull up. Can everyone see Gina's resume
there.
here?
So this is very well laid out. Oh, God, that listening to myself.
That's all right. Everyone can see it. I'll stop that.
Okay. So
sometimes screen sharing's a jerk.
so let me get back to it here. So it's important, this is how I think it should be like: role, opera, where, when, right?
Okay.
Very simple. Make sure all the columns line up. Take the time to actually make columns chronologically correct. I like what came last to be at the top and working down. So this all is very good. I personally do like some special experience, or if you have something, because I find it interesting. It tells me a little bit about you as you're singing. So this is very good. I mean, I really don't have any big things to say. I think it's a very nice headshot, and it shows you. I mean, I look at the screen and I look at you in the headshot, and yeah, that's you. So that's good. So I don't really, I mean, I think it's all very well put together. I think the materials are excellent. What we did, I mean, and you can't see it, but it's just email, phone number, and website, which is all you need on your resume. It's all you need. So I want to say something. I don't like people putting their addresses on resumes. I'll find it. I'll find a way. If I need to mail you something, I'll email you for it. Because you just don't know where that piece of paper ends up. And your name with middle initial, with a phone number and your address is a lot of information that's easily somebody can start screwing with your financial life. So just leave it on. So no, I mean, that all looks very good to me. I don't have
it looks great, Gina.
Yeah.
I think it looks super well put together, very organized. I can see who you are, what you've done, what type of voice you are, and what type of singer I'm going to listen to just by looking at your resume, which I think is also super important. As we look at a few more resumes, if you've changed voice types and you have all, if your resume is like, let's say you went mezzo to soprano, right? And you have 4 soprano roles, but you've got like 20 mezzo roles.
Right.
I'm a small touch confused. Just looking at it, I don't know what kind of voice I'm going to get out of your mouth, right? Your resume I love because it tells me exactly who you are. So before we change singers, Scott, can you talk about how to deal with if you have changed repertoire? What should we do in that role section? Should we keep it less is more and go with the couple of soprano roles that you've sung with maybe a few of the mezzo roles just to say, hey, I changed Bach? Right. Or do you want to see the full mezzo biography and then I switched? How do you like to sing it?
Well, resumes should be living, right? So as you move along and things keep getting added, some of those things maybe start falling off the bottom. Right? So I don't need to see, it's not a CV. So a CV is different, right? A CV is everything you've ever done. right? That's like everything back to, Mary had a little lamb in third grade. That's all. This is not that, right? So I want the most relevant experience. I think it's perfectly okay if there's some sort of mark that says, FOC change in the middle of it.
Agree.
I would show though, if the things that came when you were, for example, if you were a mezzo first, and you sang at, houses that were important or did things that were important, you would leave it, I would leave it on there. And it's very easy then to explain, switch to soprano, switch to mezzo. It happens all the time. So that's, it's not uncommon. The other, it's sort of like, sometimes you'll see a gap in a resume. Maybe there's a 3-4 year gap for some reason. I sometimes will ask about that, and it's okay for you to say, I had something personal. There was some personal things that during that time. Ladies, you might want to have a baby, right? And got to take some time off from singing, and you want to, and that's okay. You don't have to answer it, but just know that. So what you're looking for on a resume is sort of consistency. I want to see, you're working consistently. Your things are growing. You're starting at this company, and you're moving here, and you're doing this, and the roles are getting bigger. Okay, that's all pointing in sort of the right direction. Does that mean, like, that's the whole point of the resume?
I just want to highlight what Scott said about the resume being active and things falling off the bottom. I don't need to, if you're in a young artist program, I don't need to know you did 4 roles in your undergraduate. Those can hit the wayside. Those aren't important. What's more important are the couple roles you did at your graduate program, and then maybe the 1 or 2 young artist programs you've done prior to this year. Right? I don't need to see that in high school you did Little Shop of Horrors and sang Audrey. Don't need to know it. Right. Yeah. So make sure that, like Scott said, you are continuing to update that resume and say, you know what, this really isn't me anymore, and drop it off of the resume. There's zero shame or anything in that. And I know we as singers have it in our heads, oh, they need to know more. They need to know more. They don't. Right. They don't. They read the top and they get an idea, and then we listen to you sing, and then maybe they look back down and do some more checking and see what else is on there and blah, blah, blah. But, we don't need to see I was, 5th person from the left in High School Musical of the Trees, right? It's just not something we need to know. So think about that.
And just make sure it's all accurate. So if you studied, or you make sure if you covered something, that was an actual assignment. You didn't, in your head, I've seen resumes where people are like, I covered that. Well, no, you were in the Young Artist program, but that wasn't your assignment. You just sat in rehearsal.
Yes.
Not covering.
Yes.
Right? Covering means you know the role. Or if it's scenes, or if it's partial study, or just make sure that it's very clear, because people will ask. And I have times where I've said, oh, well, that's interesting. And I'll talk to my colleague and, wherever, Fort Worth, and say, oh, so-and-so did this at Fort Worth. And they're like, what? No,
they didn't.
We did the outreach performances where we did a 20-minute version. That's not the role. That's 20 minutes. So just be very clear, because people do ask. Yes. We like to talk to each other because I want to know, tell me how it went. I want to, tell me how G was. And, oh, she was great in rehearsal. That's great. Perfect. That's what I need. So
exactly.
Be very accurate. Don't try to sneak things by, because you'll get caught. And I can't tell you.
Yes, you will.
I can't tell you how many times I've caught people and I'm like, oh, okay. I know some of my own young artists where I took their resumes and said, no, you didn't cover that. It was not your assignment.
Oh my God.
So I will call you out. So anyway.
I love it. Guys, I want to highlight that too. They do really call each other. They really do. I actually, I can recall I auditioned for a management company overseas several years ago. But when I went into that audition, the manager I was auditioning for said, you should know that you're thought of very highly at the Met. I spoke with Lenore Rosenberg and Jonathan Friend prior to your audition, just to make sure that I was, going to like you. And I asked them how people think about you. And they told her everything. And even relate a story that I knew everyone's blocking before they did, and it was, funny story. But they do really talk to each other. They do, and they will call and they will email. So if you do have something on your resume that you did not do, they will find out. The walls talk and have ears and all those things. So make sure that he's totally right. Make sure that the accuracy is really, really there. Shall we move on to Miss Megan? Are you there, Megan?
Yes, hi.
Yay! Hi, sweetheart.
Again.
My name is Megan Cook, and I will be singing the Gavotte from Manon.
Au sacré
Bravo, Megan, bravo.
Thank you.
Yes, girl.
Fun.
Fabulous, fabulous. Beautiful acting. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous voice. Amazing. Okay, Scott, I throw it to you. I love the chat's blowing up right now, Megan, just so you know. Everyone
Yeah.
loves you.
I know, it's great. It's wonderful. Congratulations. That was really, really beautiful. Your voice is, first of all, you sing with such joy. I love that. You sing with, I mean, really with such joy. And I've said, Jen knows I say that a lot, but I love watch singers that sing with joy, right? I can tell that you love to sing and you love to sing this. The voice is incredibly consistent. I mean, it's really beautiful. I love the tone. I love the timbre of your voice. I can also tell that it's even from now, again, going back to what we talked about before, I would know that your voice would carry into the hall, right? Because there's enough quality of sound, there's enough sound that I would know, okay, yeah, that voice will go in the hall. It has enough cut, there's enough ring to it. So again, like when we're thinking about how we're going to start listening to these auditions, that's a big consideration for people that sit in a 2,000 seat theater. Is that voice going to go to the back of the theater, right? And over 65 pieces. The orchestration is pretty light here, but it's also charming and it's honest. Like it's a beautiful. It's just honest singing. I like that. I would love. Even if you could find even more ways to revel in the top. It's so solid, but I want you to now really just, you know, she's standing there in front of everybody, right? And so how do you really make that top just sparkle? Because right now it gets just, from what I hear here, it's just a touch towards strident. And I think you can make even more beautiful sounds there and really knock the socks off people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Jen, I don't know if you agree, disagree.
No, I 1000% agree with you. And Megan, so proud of this girl. Just so proud of this girl. I definitely think that, Megan, you can go towards that low anchored larynx that you have on the B flats, even up higher. And not be afraid of, because it's high, that you have to sort of grab it and control it any more than it already is. The body is working. The larynx is low. Everything is open and free. There's no shaking. There's no nothing, right? Nothing's happening. It's gorgeous. And what I love is that because it's free, you are able to show us Manon, your Manon. And Scott is completely right. The joy. I mean, I sat here with the biggest smile on my face, not because I know you and love you, but because the singing is really fantastic and the character is sparkling and bright and beautiful and champagne, and we love her, right? And everyone in the chat was saying, this Manon is beautiful. This is so beautiful to listen to. This is, you know, this is fun to watch. And it totally 1000% is. Don't get nervous that it might be too open as you go up. Take a little grab in the larynx to control it. That's the one thing I would say. And then those high notes, just let them open. They want to. P.S. The E flat was fantastic. Thank you. That was badass. But let's look at for example, je suis belle, je suis heureuse, je suis belle. Take your time. I know the accompaniment is moving and that's not cool. Let's do it without the accompaniment. But really, when she says je suis belle, on top of that in the score is written tenuto and poco rallentando, right? And then we get the vivo on the ba-da-da-da-da-pa-pa. Follow that and really enjoy it. I am so beautiful, right? This is a girl who got off of a car, of a bus, and walked around into a new world that she had never seen before, who was going to the convent, right? And now is in the middle of a party in fabulous clothes with a rich boyfriend, and enjoying, like living her best life, right? So let's enjoy those B naturals just a little bit more. Yeah, how about ça commence à va, je suis belle, je suis heureuse, and then je suis belle, and just let it fly, my love. Just let it fly. Yeah? Je suis belle, je suis belle, je suis And then with that freedom, you have all the room in the world to make the decrescendo, do your little staccati flirtation, and everything is wonderful and lovely. Yeah? Let's look at the C. Going back. No, going forward. Sorry. When we do, this is fine. Going forward. Okay, going up. When we do it both times, let that lower and anchor down there. Yeah. Yeah. But then when you do the that also has to anchor. Even though you're on the body and using the muscles of the body to make those happen, we don't want to go don't have to do it. It's just a B. Yeah. No flipping over yet. So do emotion. Emo. There you go. You know them? That's right. And then the next one. And go up vertical. Now go straight up. Brava. Yeah. So there's just a slight grab in the larynx that you don't need. It's just for security. You're just checking it. We all do it. Yeah. Trust that you've got it really well put together. And when you go straight up into that top voice, it really is stunningly beautiful, relaxed, free. The minute you take a slight grab, that's when we get just a little too bright. And like Scott said, it goes towards a little bit of stridency because it's too bright and there's not enough space for the amount of sound that the voice has to fully resonate in all of these places here. It just cuts off like this much, but we notice it. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Just don't lose that sparkle. It's got to shine. It's got to bubble up there. You know, just that's and you have it. It's such in your wheelhouse. So you don't have to worry about it. Just sang it. Just do it now.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's so when the reason that people sing this aria in audition is to show that off. You did that very well. So actually show it off. Just
absolutely.
Does that make sense? Like,
yes.
You know, can I ask what other things you would offer around this?
Sure. So I am brand new to Tourland. I have Renyava from Lucia and True Love, the No Word from Tom. And then we were thinking about maybe starting to work on Constanza, that one, and then Depuis le Jour for something a little different.
Yeah. I mean, that all makes sense to me. Okay. The tricky part, you have two, so they're all on the long side.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a little bit of a longer aria, especially because it's strophic and it goes back. Renyava, same thing. So be ready to figure out a cut because you never know. I don't know what they're going to ask for in terms of length of these video submissions. right? They still might only want 3 minutes, or so figure out, make sure you can do a cut. Same thing with And True Love, you know, it just, that's really long. So just get used to singing the cabaletta a lot and just be done with it. Just because
that's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point.
So just all these things to keep in mind. I think that's all stuff that you would sing very well. I would probably, just if I was hearing an audition, just to hear something completely different, I probably would either ask for the Lucia cut, or I would probably ask for the Coup de Jour.
Okay, good to know.
Just to show a completely different side of you, right? I would just be curious what else you can do. Because I would already know.
Yeah, something like really beautiful legato. I think I would also ask for, and I love the idea of Depuis le jour as well, because not only is it just exceedingly beautiful, but it also keeps her kind of in that happy high passaggio area, and then gives her some nice high notes off of there. I like that. Yeah. I'm wondering if there's. You make an incredible point that they're all really long. And I'm just trying to think in my head of when I sang this repertoire. I mean, I had a very similar package to this, and I would sing Manon, and then they would ask for the first part of No Word from Time to hear that lyricism. I'm trying to think what else might be just like one aria that might be a shorter option, but I can keep thinking about that.
Yeah. But just something to keep in mind. I mean, as you use this type of soprano, you guys are hard because you get all the long arias, right?
Yes, all the best arias.
But they're all the long ones, so you just have to be ready for that. It's just a fact of the repertoire. But no, I mean that all would work.
It's really fabulous. I'm gonna just put up Megan's little resume really quick here on my phone, just so everyone can see that it's also super well organized. Love the photo and your sort of branding M on the top of there. Love that. And I see like a lot of columns, and I think that this would be really easy to kind of peruse. Scott, what do you think?
Absolutely. This looks great. It's
the other thing that I noticed on here, I've got a little star for denotes cover, a little thing for denotes partial role, and then another for denotes world premiere. When you do cover, do you like to have a star and then a denotes cover, or would you rather have like a little parentheses next to it that says cover?
You can just do the star and say cover.
And star say cover. Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
good.
The star is actually the noting part. So
yeah. So but would you rather have the star, or would you rather just have like a little parentheses next to the role that says cover?
Either way, I'm okay with it either way. Sometimes, sometimes it depends on how you set it up. And if you have a particularly long, if you try to shove too much information, then the cover sometimes gets really close to whatever is coming next. So the star sometimes helps just keep everything clean. Either way, I mean, it's about how you set it up. I don't care either way.
Great.
But that's fine.
I just wanted for others that have cover on there to just make sure we're all kind of on the same page with that.
I would say if you start getting into, if you get cover and study cover and partial role, and all of a sudden there's like I need a deciphering code at the bottom.
Yes.
Then you might want to consider a different system. Does that make sense?
Then we're too much. Yes. Then we're too much. Is
it that you get a caret or a double caret, and like, oh no, what does that mean? So just think about that. But right now it looks looks very good. Yeah.
Fabulous. Megan, awesome. Bravissima.
Thank you.
Brava. Okay, let's move on to Miss Alexandria. Are you there, honey?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Hello, my name is Alexandria Zallo, and today I will be singing O Mio Fernando from La Favorita. Oh
Brava. I cannot believe that you are 21 years old. I can't.
Yeah, 21.
My mind is blown.
You're 21?
Yeah, I turned
21.
That's impressive.
Right?
Yeah. So,
okay, Scott, I'm going to throw it to you first.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, bravo, well done. I mean, I love the creamy, warm color of your sound. It's beautiful. This bottom it's just really, really lovely. And it's a big instrument, right? I mean,
it's big.
Yeah. So here are some thoughts. Right now, your comfort zone is sort of middle, lower register, right? And the top is where it sort of it's not settled out yet, which is okay because you're 21 freaking years old.
Years old.
Right? So like, this is all okay. This is good. The tricky part with this role is that this aria is unlike most of the role.
Mm-hmm.
So as we start thinking about what comes next, right, if we're focusing on young artists thinking land, the trouble with this aria is that the rest of the opera is really damn high.
Mm-hmm.
If you do you know, have you listened to the whole score? Yeah. I mean, it's high. We just did an ABA last year, and it sits up there for a while in the top. So as we start thinking about roles, we have to think about. I would be thinking about, okay, yeah, the aria would be beautiful, but can she sustain the rest of the role as it currently right now? And the top would tell me, no, that's where we need to do some work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A few things. Again, style will start coming. You know, bel canto, big, beautiful lines. Everything should be elegant. So there are times where sometimes you sort of crash a little bit into the bottom, especially in the second part, where you just sort of it needs to find a little bit more elegance, but still maintain the vigor, right, of that, because it changes completely a character there, right? We go from this big, beautiful, long lines to much more rhythmic, much more, but it still can't just sort of crash into the bottom. So that's a few things. Let's see. I would love, I would love if we could maybe have a minor little breakthrough with the top. I would love that. I would love to take that apart for a minute. I mean, there's so much that somebody's going to work with you. Find a really great teacher that does big voices, because that's actually really important. Because the problem, the tricky thing with young big voices is making sure they don't wobble, right? Yep. So now you have to take step by step, and you have to let the voice build naturally. Like if you try to push it too fast, too hard, too big, that's where you get into some serious wobble problems. You don't have it right now. So what I'm saying is, don't go down that path. Go down this path. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's sort of my initial thoughts. Jen?
Yeah. So I mean, Alexandria, it's such an amazing voice. And I'm so happy that you're with us today. Really, I think you're going to do very, very well in Young Artist Land. People are going to love you. But one thing that I want to help you with is some freedom, especially in the top. Because what I noticed as you're going even up into the E, F sharp range, the jaw starts to shake. And the jaw shakes, anyone's jaw shakes. It's a symptom of something else. So never, if you have jaw tension, should you actually go, oh, I have a shaking jaw, I should focus on the jaw. No, because the jaw shaking is a symptom of other things. And I think that the jaw shaking is happening to you because you are not giving the voice, the size of the voice that you have, the space that it needs in order to resonate. So the whole pharynx, the whole throat, the whole pharynx back there, the whole sinus cavity, the whole head, that's all a resonator, including the chest, including the throat, including the mouth. Sometimes what can happen, especially with big voices, if the space in the mouth and the pharynx is not big enough, the voice, the sound starts resonating off the teeth, and then we get a vibrating jaw. So what we have to do is actually just release open the pharynx, the back space in the throat, and it will actually stop the jaw from shaking without you going, oh, I have to focus on my jaw. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So I want to have you try for me, just in deep. Take your fingers, one index finger, one thumb. Put it between the back molars, all the way back here. And say, for me.
Oh.
Okay. Feel what happens in the throat when you do that.
Oh.
Now we have one open space. right? If we sing with that much bass, hear all that upper resonance that happens? Watch what happens if I shut the space down. Do you get the upper resonance? No, it's gone, right? Because it isn't open back there to allow the ventricles to open to get the resonance up into this part of the head. There are two ventricles back there. So when you have postnasal drip, that's the place where it falls down in the back. It's that place back there, all right? That has to be open in order to allow that passage into this area of the head to allow for the sound to conduct off the bones of the skull and create that resonance for you. Then you don't have to push, then you don't have to do anything. Science does it for you, all right? So try for me. Index finger, thumb, back here. Oh, on a UH. Try. Already better. Now, feel that larynx. Don't let that guy jump up on you because it's jumping up to close the space for you and you don't want it. So get a hold of the sides right here of the larynx and just give it a little stretch down. Okay, feel it go down? Okay, now get it here. That open. Feel that? Now, if we go up into F range, where the jaw starts shaking, nothing changes. Nothing changes, nothing moves. Try. Stretch it even a little more. Deepen it into an as you go up to the top. Allow the larynx to stay down. You've almost got it. Get a hold of the sides of that larynx again and get that sucker down. Try again. There it is. There it is. There it is. We need that space open. We need that larynx anchored. Yeah? Try the F sharp. Hold that sucker down. Keep him down there. Yes. Same thing. Open it up. Now, take the hand away. Let me see the jaw. I don't see any shaking, but let's just make sure. Same space without the hand. Hold the larynx here. Keep that down. Yes, my love. One more. Good. Again. Again. Keep that sucker down. Try not to go high and wide. Go straight up vertically. It's gonna come out. I promise you. Straight up, no widening. So there's the B flat. That's all you need. You just need more space, my love. You need more space for that big voice. Big voices need more space. We need that pharynx open. Now I see no jaw shaking. I see nothing shaking, nothing moving. All I get is just a cavern of beautiful, amazing sound.
Yeah.
So if you start the beginning of the aria, You have to start it in that place. We need it open the whole time, because open is free. Then the body activates to move the air. We don't move air by grabbing from the larynx. We don't do that. We move air by using the muscles of the abdomen, the ribs, the lat muscles in the back, the deep core, the pelvic floor. We move the air that way. We compress the air that way. You need the space to do it.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Can you just turn on the beginning of the aria for me, and just from this low space, and just start the first couple phrases with that open space?
Yeah. Can't.
Good girl. Good. Feel that larynx nice and low and free. It'll resonate and registrate all by itself. That larynx down. Release the larynx. Couple more. Open it. Brava. Good. You can stop. Bravissima. So if you start from there, from that open space, all you have to do is go up. And you're ready. Then the top is there. The breath is moving and all of that. As you found out, when we sing with the throat open, the body has to activate more. It takes more air, more connection to the body, because you're not grabbing from someplace locally to try to control the sound.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
And I want that for you, because it's fabulous. Fabulous.
What else are you working on?
What else am I working on? Good question. I sing Va, because, you know, that's the token mezzo French aria.
Yeah.
I sing Cherry Murray Fook from Rusalka. I did that last summer, and I'm doing it again with Luke Hausner this summer.
Oh, cool.
And I sing How I Love Them from Wuthering Heights, either that or the Rape of Lucretia aria, and Parto from La Clemenza di Tito.
That's interesting.
My school's doing it next year, so.
That's fabulous. No, that's a fantastic aria. That's, I mean, really. And if you can move that big of a voice and that quickly, good. That means it's healthy and free and wonderful. I love it.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping, that there was something on this list that you're working on that keeps the agility.
Yeah, I'm also working on Cruda Sorte a little bit. I'm going to put that on my recital. So I'm trying to do a lot of more moving stuff.
Yeah.
I like it.
So it doesn't get too heavy, to, you know, and not falling back, and, you know, still has vibrancy and well placed, because it's easy to do, like, start falling back, and then it gets sort of too big and too muffled. So things that bring up, she's a good one too. Isabella's a good one for you. That would be fun. So
Cruda Sorte would be fabulous. Yeah. Don't go too high though. Don't go into something like Dorabella that might sit too high at this point. The parto is good because it's uncomfortable for you, I'm sure. The parto is good because it anchors the larynx for you. Don't go. You may very well get into Dorabella in a few years, but I don't know that you're gonna want to sit that high. Do you know what I mean? Like, I definitely don't think you're going to be on the composer line, Ottavia, none of that stuff. I think it's going to just sit in the wrong place for you. Yeah. So make sure, and we all know the rep tells us when something is right. And clearly this is the right rep for you. And clearly in 10, 15 years, we're going to have Amneris, we're going to have Trovatore, we're going to have Eboli, we're going to have all those things. Don't do them yet. But in 10 or 15 years, but this O Mio Fernando, it definitely does tell us as the listener where the voice is going. And I think that if you're along the lines of what Anita Rashvelishvili is doing, in 10 years, you're going to be right in the right repertoire. The Princesse du Bouillon in Adriana Lecouvreur, the Trovatore, the Amneris, those things. But stay out of them until you get stay out of them until 30. Put them on your wish list, on your vision board, whatever you want to do, and build up that step, because Amneris, she a long one. She is long, and that poor thing has to go out in Act 4 and just scream her face off for 45 minutes. So you really have to have that stamina, ready to go. Do things maybe like the Anna Bolena, the Jane Seymour.
Oh, I actually know that aria too. Yep.
Fabulous. I think that's a great idea. Some of those bel canto ladies, they're the seconda donna, so it's not a ton of singing. Sara in Roberto Devereux, something like that, where it's age appropriate because it's not Elisabetta. It's not a huge role. It's not Maria Stuarda. It's the seconda, and doing something bel canto will really help you keep that the agility and that that relaxation that you want. Look into Will Crutchfield's program, the Teatro Nuovo summer program. I think that you would learn a lot about style, because I do see you going into some of the heavier bel canto stuff. I think you would be wonderful in it. And I think that learning I learned from Will for a summer, and it was,
I did his webinars. He's so intelligent.
It's so he's a genius.
Crazy.
He's a genius. And his Italian coach, Lucy Tucker Yates, is literally the best Italian coach in the business. I adore her. His coach, Rachel John. They would take really good care of your voice while also teaching you the style that you need for the bel canto repertoire, because I really do think that this is great repertoire for you. But it keeps the voice healthy. It's really, really wonderful. Fantastic. Scott, is there anything you want to add before we move on to Madison?
No, I think we're good. Well done.
Fantastic. Bravo. Very well done. Very well done. God, the singing is so good today. I love it. Okay, Miss Madison, are you there?
Here we go. I'm here.
There she is. Oh, you look so pretty, honey.
Thank you. I had some trouble with my iPad. I couldn't get it on the horizontal mode, unfortunately.
No worries. We're all good. Thank you. Go right ahead.
I'd like to sing Una voce poco fa, and I'd like to take a moment to thank my wonderful pianist, Maestro Gregory Ritchie, on the other side of the iPad. reggere, mi lascio reggere, mi può guidar, mi può guidar. Ma se io però voglio vedere, sarò che non sarò. Dici tu amore, prima di finire, ora giocare. Dicendo troppo le prima di cedere. Farò giocare. Dicendo troppo le prima di cedere. Dicendo giocare, io sono docile, sono obbediente, io lascio reggere, mi muovo ma se mi tocca, allora voglio vedere, sono di te, dici tu troppo, le prima di cedere, ora giocare, dicendo troppo, le prima di cedere. Farò giocare, dicendo troppo le prima di cedere. Dicendo troppo
Brava! Bravissima, Madison. Brava, 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 brava. It's so great to hear you again. Brava. Okay, Scott, I throw it to you.
Hi, Madison. Well done. It's nice to hear
Really
you
well
again. It's so funny because I've known her on this long journey, and it's really cool to watch. Madison, the voice is in really great shape. It sounds, I mean, it's just, it moves so easily. It's moved so accurately. It's consistent up and down through the register, both in color and tone. It's really lovely. And you're an excellent musician. You're always well prepared. I mean, it's spot on. What I would love to see, you know, this aria, she's making this all up as she goes, right? That's a hard thing about this aria. So we need to plan something, but it needs to still feel spontaneous, right? She's in the room. This big oaf just left, and she's like, "No, this ain't gonna work." Right? I got ditch this guy. I want the hot one. So you got to find a way to have more spontaneity a little bit in the character. Does that make sense? We have to feel a little bit more, because right now it's great, and I'm you so well prepared. What I want to see you, it's just now I want to see you do something a little bit different. I want you to surprise yourself sometime. And so what I want you to do sometime is do completely new set of gestures, because I've heard you audition with this a few times, so I know what you do with it. So I want you to throw away those gestures, and I want you to start with a whole different set. Now you might go back to some of them, but I think that will help keep it will engage your brain and keep this. It's a different spark, right? And you're going to feel something different, and I think it will help keep the spontaneity. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
That's a hard part. That's a hard thing about this aria and this character. she's driving the whole opera. I mean,
Oh, yes.
between she and Figaro, they're driving the whole thing, right? And so, and she's crafty. She's a wonderful character. I love Rosita. She's a great character, but she's always thinking. Both of them are always sort of thinking as this goes, right? They haven't really plotted this whole thing out. So try it sometime, because I think that will help keep things sparkly and fun and spontaneous. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Thank you for the advice.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I think that Madison, if you can think about how she is with the men, she's a spitfire, right? She has no problem just being like, no, I'm not doing it, right? And she's really funny. And I love that about her character. She's just naturally funny. Find a different way to say the words each time you say them. So try to think of a different subtext. If you say, io sono docile, sono obbediente, you can, the first time, be describing, io sono docile, sono obbediente, but the next time, io sono docile, sono obbediente. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I'm so sweet and obedient. Yeah, I'm gonna kick your butt. You know what I mean? have a little play with each time, because with these bel canto things that do go back a couple of times and say the same words, we need to have a reason that they said it again, right? So if you do how many times does she say that in this aria, right? 1,000,000 times. So each time you say it, there's a different reason. And I think that having sort of a running subtext of, this one's naughty, this one's nice, this one I'm being funny, this one I'm being coy, having a different subtext for each time you say the same thing might give us a little bit more of an organic sort of gesture instead of a presentational opera gesture. Does that make sense? And you can really feel free to just be real with it. Feel free to just be like, I am like silly Madison, and you can use the gestures that Madison uses in real life to be like, yeah, right, I'm so sweet and nice. You can use that. You can use that. You can be real, and honestly, we will laugh. I mean, there is a reason to laugh at Tosca in Act 1 of Tosca, because she's being cray, but also it's funny because it's real for her. This is a real thing to be like, what, she's too pretty. Take down that damn picture. Like, there's a reason she's like, right? So think about that go back to, can you go back to giusto, io sono docile, sono rispettosa. Find a different way. This time, think a naughty way. Think, I'm so sweet, I'm so respectful, I'm so obedient. But when it's time for me to be a jerk, I'm gonna kick your butt. Like, go there. Go there for a second for us. And let's start from there again. And let's see if we get something more fun. Ah, yes. Okay, I'm gonna just stop for a second. Just stop for 1 second. Because already I have a new color to Madison's voice. And your voice is freaking stunning and I love it. But that color, that io sono docile, I got so much color in just that one little word. It makes me go, oh, I want to hear more. You know what I mean? Go there, Madison. That's fabulous. Do it one more time. Love it. I'm so obedient. very sweet. I'm so sweet until.
Sorry?
Go, I'm so sweet until, yes? Start leading me there. Start leading me there. Yeah, mi lascio reggere.
Mi lascio reggere.
Yeah, mi lascio reggere. Mi lascio.
Mi lascio reggere, mi può guidare, mi può guidare. Ma se mi può, allora io ti sarò di che cosa farò. E ci troverò le prime
Now a new color. Scendo. Now a new color. Scendo trappole. Keep it sweet. Now a totally different color. Totally different color. Now explode. Accento. Brava.
Yeah.
Brava.
So,
Totally different. It's totally different.
so Madison, that's
definitely felt the different colors. I really liked it a lot more.
yeah. So that's so much more interesting, right? Because now it's combining a really great technique with a real character, right?
Yes.
The most fun staging I saw of this aria, and I think this is actually an easier aria to do with a lot of stuff around you, is that during this whole aria, she set the traps for Bartolo for the rest of the opera. So she went to the desk and like undid the inkwell. So next time he used it, he knocked it over. She went and like stuck pins in the pillow and stuff. So
I love it.
I can't remember if we did that in Palm Beach or if that was in Washington. But that's what all. So that David Gately, right? So it was in Washington, I guess. So thank you, whoever said Ryan. So it was
Ryan.
so fun because every time she did this switch, you know, she's talking about being, you know, I'm so sweet. So she was sewing, but then she took all the needles and threw them in the couch where he was going to sit next time. Right?
I love it.
So it's like, so every time they have that switch, she was planning a different trap. So it's a way to keep this sort of organic and fun and lively. And that was so much. So just think about that as you're approaching this, because you know a lot of ladies do this aria, and finding what sets you apart is because technically you're going to be very good. Now somebody wants to see a real Rosita because it has to just be she's got to be feisty and fun, and you can go there. You can go there. You can do it.
And think about Madison. Think about her age. She is super young, right? Because when we meet her in Figaro, when we meet her again as the Countess, she's 18 and several years have passed. So here, she might be 14 or 15 years old. Think about a teenager who is rebelling against someone who they feel is treating them wrong. They're going to be like, I know everything. I know everything in the world. I'm the best. I can do it. I'm going to take you down. Like, have that sense of youth and rebellion and that confidence to it that a 14-year-old has when they're like, yeah, I know everything about the world and we're going to do it my way. Do you know what I mean? Everybody needs to sort of do that research so that we know, because a 14-year-old acts very differently than a 27-year-old. And it doesn't mean, you know, make it young and dumb and no. It doesn't mean that. It means there's an attitude, right? It means there's, as 27, you know you don't know everything and you've learned things from the world that have made you into, you know, a full person at this point. But at 14, you don't. And things you see things differently. So when you're looking at these characters, think about their ages. You know, if you're doing Butterfly, think about the fact that she really is 16 years old. And anyone who sings Un Bel Vie, she sits there and waits for him because she doesn't know any other way. She believes he is coming back, period. She believes it. He's coming back because he said he would come back. And at 16, you do believe that. At 30, maybe you don't trust as much because you've learned from the world. But at 16, you do believe that. So think of her in terms of where she is in her life and how rebellious at 14 or 15 maybe you were, or friends of yours were, or, you know, a brother or a sister is, or, you know what I'm saying, Madison?
Yes, unfortunately, I thought that I knew everything when I was 14, 15.
Well, but that's perfect. Draw from that. Draw from that. Because she does think she knows everything. And then when she evolves into the Countess Rosina, that's why she's so heartbroken when we meet her in Por Jamor, because she did think she knew everything. And she did marry this man because she thought she knew him and he would be true to her. And now she's being taught the real ways of the world. And he isn't a loyal man, right? But she doesn't understand why. And so Por Jamor comes out of that youthful place where you just don't understand why. Why isn't he here with me? Why does he like all these other women? It's heartbreaking, but it's also what we all had to do, you know, when we had our first boyfriend. You know, you think everything is so great when you feel love for the first time, and then the first time you get your heart broken, it is truly devastating. Like it's, you know, it's stay in bed for 3 days, devastating, you know? So go with that inexperience so that your gesture is more natural to you as maybe Madison was at 14 or 15. Does that make sense?
A lot of sense.
I love Madison. Your voice is really, it's awesome. The only technical thing that I would say is be very careful that we don't get H's in your coloratura. That's the only thing. Some people like the H, some people don't like the H. I, in particular, don't like the H because it means you've closed the larynx. You've closed the muscles around the larynx, which can cause you to get tired in the long run, and it can cause the voice to not remain malleable and flexible. So be careful that when you're doing joka paro joka, that the action of the coloratura is here in the throat and not grab to go faro joka. Does that make sense?
A lot of sense. I actually have a question about that, and what Scott said earlier about subjectivity. Something I've been trying to think of an answer to this, so I thought that I'd ask two experts.
Please.
Flexibility is exceedingly important to me. It's very important to me to be able to do what a conductor or stage director tells me to do on a moment's notice. And I could do that in an audition as well. I mean, some people I know like more articulation in the coloratura. Some people like it to be more legato. Some people like brighter vowels or darker vowels or younger Rosina or older Rosina. And I feel very flexible to be able to change. Is there any very professional way in which to ask the panel their preferences, or I don't know.
When you go in, it's your audition. When you go in, it's your time to show what you do. If in an audition someone says, hey, could you go back and try that in a different way, then you can take direction and do, you know, what the same thing with when you go in on the first day of rehearsal. You go into a music rehearsal with your preparation, how you have prepared said role. And then the conductor will say, let's do this way. Let's do this way. Let's do this way. Same thing with the stage director. I always go in with my ideas about that character. And then the director can say, well, have you thought about this? What about this? And then becomes a collaboration, right? Don't go into an audition and say, what's your preference on the way that I do this? No, your audition.
Yeah, exactly.
You do you.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, I got
Yeah,
a call.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, don't let them pick from a menu. You prepare it the way you want. But if there's as Jen said, like if you're auditioning for a particular conductor, a particular role that you're going to work with that person, and he wants you to try something, and you can show that you can do it, then you're cooking, right?
Absolutely.
Then people are like, oh, this is great. Yeah, this is this person, and there's always going to be that discussion in rehearsal too. Again, part of watching. Part of watching a rehearsal process is seeing that a singer like Jen being able to switch on the dime, or not take a breath there, or take a breath there, or faster, slower, whatever it is. So just present you, but it's all very good.
Yeah. And there's a million ways to do something. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times now I've sung Tosca in how many different productions. And it's different every single time, because I'm also, Madison, very flexible and very malleable. And if a director asks me to do something, I don't say no. That's not in my vocabulary. I say yes, because I have worked the technique as you have, that I know my voice very, very well. And I know that the voice is going to function, even if they ask me to lay down on my back with my head hanging off the pit and this and that and the other thing that they ask you to do. You have control over that vocal technique, so that when they do ask you to do something, you can do it and are able to do it. And like Scott said, that's when you become really marketable. When people say, she doesn't say no in rehearsal, she doesn't tell me she can't sing this, she can't do this because she has to sing a high C, she doesn't have the excuses, she just does it, and she molds, and we combine and we collaborate, and that's the kind of singer that you want to be. But when you go into your audition, that's your time. You take your time. As Maxine Waters said, you take your time.
Well done.
Good, cool. Good. Bravo, Madison. Really, really great. Okay, Miss Sabina, are you there, honey?
Yes, I'm here.
Yay!
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, honey.
Go right in? Okay.
Introduce yourself and your piece, and we'll get started. Yeah, thank you.
My name is Sabina Balsamo, and this is Mi chiamano Mimi from La Boheme.
Oh God.
Oh my goodness, I have a little tear.
Thank
That was
you.
gorgeous, 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 gorgeous.
Thank
Scott, I
you.
throw that to you. I throw
Wow.
right over to Scott.
That was really, really beautiful.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I really love the amount of steel you have in the voice, but still the amount of richness you have in the instrument. It's just that perfect mix so when I think of Mimi, right, that's sort of that's the sound I like. Um, in the voice, it's so nicely engaged all the time. Like it's on the breath, it's supported, it's full. This aria is hard. Actually, I think both of our arias are really hard, right? Because this one is, and I think you do a really good job capturing all of it, right? It's the first date energy, right? I mean, these are sort of like the speed dating arias, right? He gets one, she gets one, then they get a little interrupted, and then everybody cries and duet, right? Okay, so it's great. So there's that nervous energy that you capture really well. Like she's saying these things, and you have to, oh my God, do you want me to keep going? Like, she catches herself, right? So, and I think I don't want to say push it even more because I think it's enough. It's hard. This is where it's hard to tell in virtual setting, right? But we have to always make sure that there is that change when she says the real thing, right?
Yeah.
So when she gets to Makwango, that's the real thing. And that's where she opens up her soul, right? For the first time. And that's where the tears start coming. Like those Puccini moments. I mean, good for you first of all, being able to sing Puccini. That's a track, right?
Yeah.
That's a track.
The track is very good though.
The track is excellent because Puccini's really hard to sing with a track. Puccini's just because there has to be that give and take. He writes it in the score. It has to be there, and you do a really wonderful job with it. So, I mean, I think that's very successful. I think that would be a very, very successful piece for you. I also think it's a very successful first aria for you because
thank you.
Really I don't know, would you usually start with that in an audition?
Well, I've actually just completely reworked everything that I sing, so I don't know. I mean, right now, yeah, I would go in with this first for sure.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I would, because it's so settled and it's so in your voice, and also it's authentic, and I would, because um, I wouldn't say that for everybody, but I think that this actually really fits you well, and I think
Stunning.
it would do a good, I think it would do a really good job showing off your voice.
Thank you. I
Can
love
I,
this aria.
Sabina, can I spill just a little bit of tea right now, just so we, um, Sabina and I have known each other for a little while. She actually went to my undergraduate.
Oh,
And when she left graduate school, she sent me an email and said, I'm not quite feeling right about my voice. I don't know, something's happening. Nah, 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 nah." So we've been working for, I don't know how long, Sabina, 6 weeks, maybe?
Something like that. Maybe not
And
even.
when she started, she sent me Je suis encore tout étourdi from Manon. And it was, she has all the high notes, all the high notes. But somehow this repertoire is in your soul. I mean, she is 25 and this aria is new. I mean, this is what, 3 weeks old?
really?
Yeah.
And it's so settled and gorgeous in the voice. And truly, I mean, Ryan wrote it in the chat. Truly, you are Mimi.
Yeah.
I mean, just the way you each different color and that the way your face changed. And I think
Right.
Scott's right. You can. That's the truth right there. And you can go further. I think. Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
thank
because
you.
the music completely changes, right? I mean,
Yeah.
all of a
Yeah.
sudden, and the orchestration completely changes, right? It becomes massive all of a sudden. I mean,
Yeah.
before that, it's sort of going along, and there's lots of winds and stuff, but now the strings are, it's just under you, and you can just let it go, let it rip, because
And
and she does, you do. And
yeah, she does. Yeah.
but that's what I think
I'm
both of
such a
her
proud
arias,
mama over here right now.
again, that's why I
I
think both of Mimi's arias are so hard, because Donde
Yeah.
Lieta is hard in a completely different way. So, I mean, as you think about this character, um, she's very, she's naive in some ways, but then very complex in other ways. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
She wants to find love, and she knows she's dying, and it's like she kills me. This opera kills
She
me.
kills me
I
too.
will be
She
the
does
first to
too.
say I have never made it through a performance of Bohème without crying. Just not.
Sobbing, right? Sono andati is where it gets. Sono andati, vengevo di dormire. That's where I start. I
Yeah,
start
just
right there.
never.
I just
It
can't.
just never.
Ugh.
And mine is when she recognizes everybody in the room. Marcello.
Oh yes, aiuto. Oh yes. Oh,
No, I'm done.
Marcella.
Done. Like, just put me in
Oh.
the done. I'll go with her. I'll go with her. Anyway, so
Oh.
well done for you. Do you? I mean,
Can
do
we talk a little bit more about the rest of the package, Sabina? Because I think that maybe Scott could help with a little bit of this coming as she just made a Fox change. She was singing very high coloratura stuff, and the voice has very clearly grown.
Yeah.
And it's very rich and dark and gorgeous in the middle. And I sort of hear her in like Corinne Winter's land. I hear her in that beautiful full lyric Mimi's Violetas in that area. So Sabina, let's talk a little bit about what you want to add into the program, and then let's see what Scott thinks about the 5 kind of
Yeah.
package and where it could fit.
So I have Sempre Libera, Stridono lassù, I Know Nothing from Emmeline, and Non mi dir.
What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, I don't know the Emmeline. I have to admit, I don't know the Emmeline piece very well.
The Emmeline's an amazing, basically full lyric, fabulous acting, just wonderful piece of music. It's Tobias Picker.
Yeah, I think I've heard it once, a recording. I never got to see it. That would work. I also think, I mean, I could hear Ellen Orford,
Yes.
the embroidery
Yes.
aria.
Yes.
Actually, have you looked at it before?
I haven't.
I think that I think that could work for you. It's a whole different dramatic take two, right? Where, because, you know, Stridono Lasso, Sempre Libera, yeah, that's going to be your fast pieces.
Right, the faster ones.
No me
Paul, I totally agree with you. Desdemona, she will definitely do 1,000,000%. Yeah. I don't know about it as an audition aria because it is so long.
No.
It's not really something that we can put on an audition list. However, if she were to do like a concert or a gala with orchestra, oh, that thing's going on there. That would be amazing. But as an audition piece, it's a little hard to use Desdemona because it's just so long.
Yeah. I mean, I know, I'm trying to think if there's, I think it's such an Italian voice. So this is my case in point. Like, I was trying to think of something German and I'm not coming up with anything that, because it's such an Italian voice that
I agree.
I don't hear that stuff for you. And frankly, I think there are ladies out there that sort of would do it better, right? So to say Pamina, it's like, why? To me, your voice just lends itself to this repertoire so much better. It's what I would hear you say. Yeah. So, I mean,
I think the embroidery is a great idea, Sabina. I didn't think about that one. That's such a fabulous role, Eleanor Ford. Oh,
yeah.
Great.
God, I love that piece. Yeah, definitely.
It's just, I think when it's successful in audition, it just shows a depth of the singer that really says something to me, because it's really deep and it's a rough piece. If you know the opera, has seen it. I mean, she realizes there that Grimes has killed these kids, and she knows what she has to do. And she's got to. It's rough. So yeah, I
love that piece. So.
How do you like Liu in an audition for like a shorter aria for her, maybe like Signore Ascolta or something like that? Even Senza Mama too. I think she would be amazing, Senza Mama.
I like Liu in audition.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Should I do two Puccini?
What's that?
Why the heck not?
Two Puccini.
Sure.
Okay.
It's totally your voice type. I mean, this is perfect repertoire for you.
Yeah.
Yes,
I won't complain about that.
Right? Right?
That's the thing. It's like, what are you going to get hired to sing? And you're
right.
I mean, that's sort of where we have to start shifting our gears around a little bit. And like, what am I going to, if I come to sing somebody, once you get through Young Artist Program land, what are you going to get hired to sing? Mm-hmm. And for me, you're going to get hired to sing that rep.
Oh, yeah.
What would you get rid of in this package so
wouldn't.
Nothing. There's nothing to really get rid of. There's only add in, you know. I mean, I think Donanna is going to be lovely for you as well, because it's going to show us that, you know, the part of the voice that moves on that coloratura facility that you do have from having lived in coloratura land for a little while. You know, maybe the Violetta, but I don't know, because I really think you'd be a brilliant Violetta too.
I love Violetta.
So it's just a matter of, you know, I think you could swap in the Grimes for the Emmeline, just because, you know, Scott's reaction was, I don't know that. And maybe a lot of people would have that opinion, even though it is rockin'. That aria is awesome. But that, you know, we could definitely swap in the Grimes for that, for sure.
Yeah.
Listen to it.
I'm passionate about like newer things as well, like Puccini, and then new things. It for sure is like what I love.
It's fabulous.
So would it be weird?
Yeah,
to have
fabulous.
Two pieces in English?
No, I don't think. Scott, what do you think?
What's that?
If she were to have two pieces in English on the list because she really enjoys the modern stuff.
I would look carefully. So I would say it's not a terrible idea, but I would look carefully at the repertoire that the company you're auditioning for usually presents. So if they never produce English opera or operas in English, or then I wouldn't put two English pieces on there. But this is where you sort of
that's where you swap.
You sort of have to look at it and say, okay, I'm going to sing for, like, for example, when I was in Palm Beach, our rep was standard rep. right? So if you, that's what we did, and we did it really well. But that's what we did. We weren't the sort of new opera company. We did one premiere when I was there. So if you had a list that was not representative of things that I could hire you for, it's harder. It's harder. It's just like, no, just
Makes
sing.
sense.
If somebody said Shardash, that's not bad either.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, because you need a hefty voice to sing that role. And
That moves, yeah.
and it's actually a lot of fun too. That's a
It is.
good idea too.
We have to also think about, and I'm seeing a lot of people putting up a lot of like Todeshop might be awesome too. I'm seeing a lot of people putting up a lot of suggestions for repertoire. We have to think, guys, about Fach. And I saw somebody put up Willow Song Baby Doe. She's not a baby doe.
No.
Baby Doe is a light lyric coloratura that sings some in her middle voice, and so she then has the Willow Song. But she is not a baby doe, and as neither is Eileen Perez. So think about, you know, the Fach that Eileen sits in. It's a full lyric, beautiful Fach. We have Mimi, we have Violetta, we have Thais, we have, you know, we have Nedda. That's the Fach that Savina is going to sit in. And you guys have to think about that too when you're putting your list together. Even if you do have, I mean, for example, I sing both bel canto repertoire and Verismo repertoire, right? So I've got Donizetti and Bellini, but I also have Verdi and Puccini. Those aren't so far away from each other. Now, if I went in and said I'd like to sing Cleopatra, we might raise an eyebrow because it's not quite the right fit for the other things that I would sing. Now, if I went in and said I'd like to sing Susanna or Vanessa or something like that, that fits on the Verismo side, just in a different language. But if I went in and said, I want to sing Baby Doe, I have the high Ds, no problem, that's not the right way to go. So we have to think about the Fach, especially with the Young Artist Program repertoire list, because they don't have time to figure out what you are. You need to tell them what you are. And you have a 5-aria list or 2 presented arias in which to do that, in which to say, this is the repertoire that I sing. So that Scott can cast you in something that is appropriate, because, you know, not always are you going to have an aria from the 4 operas that said company is doing that year. But you need to be in the same Fach so that if you go in, let's say you're auditioning for, let's say it's La Rondine, okay? Let's say you're auditioning for Magda in La Rondine, but you don't know the 2 La Rondine arias. Okay, fine, no worries. Don't go and learn it in 2 weeks for the audition. It's not going to be good. But you do sing Mimi. So you take Mimi and you sing, and it's very easy for Scott to go, oh, she could sing Magda, no problem, by singing Mimi. But if you don't take that, then he has no idea that that's where your voice fits and where you would fit in to that particular season.
Yeah.
Don't try to put yourself in a box that you think they want you to fit in, and that means multiple boxes. You will only end up injuring yourself in the long run. If you spread your Fachs out and you're singing lyric coloratura repertoire, full lyric, and then you've got like Trovatore thrown in there. Trust me, you'll hurt yourself. I don't want you to, I don't want nodules for you, but you'll get them, okay? So the Fach system is designed to keep you streamlined and to keep you healthy, so that if you go, let's say you go to Germany, you want a Fest contract, they're going to give you 15 roles that season. They don't give you then Baroque and Puccini and Verdi and this and that. You don't want to do that. I promise you, you don't want to do that. You go in as a lyric soprano, and then you sing Mimi, and you sing Rondine, and you sing Trittico, and you sing Ellen Orford, and you sing any other number of lyric soprano things. But we don't also throw in like Rodelinda. It just doesn't go, right? So you have to tell, when you're standing in front of a panel, you have to tell them who you are. And if you have too many Fachs, we're going to confuse that. So make sure that you're streamlining that package so we understand. Does that make sense? Scott, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I just say I totally agree. You know, it's the hard part, again, this is back to the subjective part, is that, you know, it's roles like Violetta that screw everybody up.
Yes, of course.
Right? Because you can have so many different types of Violettas. I mean, look at the ladies who sung it, right? They're all over the place. I mean, from, you know, Beverly Sills sang it, for God's sakes, and then people that sing Mimi sang it, right? So that's one of those weird roles that's just a matter of taste. Now, I think you should sing it because I think you would do it very well. But that's why I think people get sort of like, oh, if you see Violetta, then it should be Willow Song. No, there are so many ladies that sing Willow Song better than you can. And I'm not, I mean, you didn't even hear it, but that's not the sound I want for Baby Doe. Yes. So just be true to yourself. I mean, find things that fit. But that's where I think that's where those are some of those roles that throw people off in directions, because there's so many different people that have sung those things. Where things like Mimi is a little bit more uniform, right?
Yes, completely.
And you have a Mimi, and you have see, I like a different kind of sound from Rosetta. Like some ladies go back and forth, but for me, those are two. It's much more interesting when those two ladies are different. Mm-hmm. It just adds another layer, another color. So
absolutely.
So
well, guys, great. we need to let Scott go on with his afternoon. However, I'm wondering if we have 5 minutes for some short questions from the chat. We've kept him long enough. It's wonderful to have you. Thank you for all of this information. It has been amazing, really, truly amazing. Though there was one that I wanted to ask from earlier, and I wrote it down. Emma Rose asked it, and I think it's actually a pretty cool question. She wanted to know about the management and the development side of the Young Artist Program in a theater, because she is more interested in that side of the business and not necessarily being the one on stage. So maybe could you talk a little bit about how you got into the management and development side of the programs for someone like Emma who might be watching, who wants to go into the business in a different way?
Yeah, I'd love to. So my first degree is in voice performance. So I went, well, I mean, going way back, I went to school to be a math teacher. I'll make this story short, but I think it's important. And then I couldn't do calculus, and I didn't want to do calculus. And I had a great teacher who is a viola professor in the math department's violist, who said, go sing. It's undergrad, you'll get a liberal arts degree, go sing. So I did, and I was an okay singer. I mean, to be honest, I was an okay singer. I was not a great singer. And I didn't like being on stage. I love singing in a chorus. I still do, I miss it, but I was not the soloist. Now I can get up and talk in front of 1,000 people in an auditorium and give a speech and whatever, but that's not me. And so I knew that pretty early. And so I said, no, I can't, you know, I'm not going to do this. So I went to do my master's at in DC, American University. And that's when I started interning at the opera. And it was important to me. I had two opportunities. I had an internship at the opera and an internship at Opera America. And it was important to me to be in a performing arts organization. So I started as an intern, then I was a receptionist. I worked in the production department as a rehearsal assistant. I scheduled costume fittings, and I worked in special events for 3 years, and then I became artistic administrator there. So I worked in almost every department of that company for 11 and a half years, and then moved to Palm Beach and became director of artistic operations. So long story to say, I think it's really important to have people that have actually sort of done it in these roles, because you know what it's like to go on stage and you're not feeling great. And you know what it's like to prepare something and prepare a role. And you feel that, I think some people can't empathize with that type, with singers, right? And they're the reason people come to the theater. I mean, nobody comes to the theater for me. Like, just get over yourselves. Like, I'm not saying my colleagues think that, but nobody comes to the theater for me. Zero. They come for the work I do, but they come to hear people like Jen. That's why people come to the theater. But you also have to be able to talk with singers when Jen is in their dressing room freaking out, because, you know, like she's having a meltdown. And I've had this happen. You know, I had a singer who's 2 minutes before curtain, it's like, I'm not going on stage. I was like, oh, okay. So anyway, I think it's great. You know, there's opportunities. Again, who knows what's going to happen after we get through this bridge. Internships are a great way to start. I know, yeah, another unpaid thing. I get it. That's tricky. But you do have to start somewhere. And sometimes it's not even necessarily in the Young Artist program, but just being around a company and making yourself, you know, I worked in the production department just because I wanted to understand the process better. Does that help answer the question?
I think that's a great answer to the question. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. There's another question in the chat about directing and singers kind of getting, or people kind of getting into that side of the business. Would you recommend the same sort of path, sort of going in as someone's assistant or as an intern and sort of going in that way?
I would. You know, it's so hard when you're running a company and you get 3 productions. You got to get as much right as you possibly can, right? Because I had 3 times a year in Palm Beach to people love me and then forget about me for 9 months, but come back and love me more and give me more money. So it was always difficult to take risks with directors and conductors because that much risk we couldn't tolerate. So, but I'm happy when somebody brings in a good assistant who, you know, proves themselves, we bring that assistant back, and then they might get a production. It may not be at the big house right away, but I do think that starting to understand the process, again, coming out of graduate school, the opera business, the world of opera and how that functions, it functions very differently than most probably grad programs, right? So getting out there and actually see a working company and all the different parts that have to interact with the stage director, I think it's a lot. And being a really good AD is really great experience because then you'll be a good director because time management is actually the thing where directors go off the rails the fastest. You got 2
and I
weeks
think
to get it rehearsed.
No, go ahead. Yeah. I think it's also important to from the AD position, you're there for the whole process. The director leaves after opening night. He goes to the next job, but pretty normally the assistant director stays around, especially in Europe, stays around to check and see how the show is going. If it's a long process, if it's 5+ shows, the assistant director will actually give notes in between shows because they want to keep, especially if it's a new production, they want to keep the director's vision happening on stage. And we all know if it's a long process, sometimes by the 8th show, it's actually a completely different staging than show 1. So the AD often stays around and is involved with the process even longer than the director is. So as an educational position, that might actually be incredible for someone who's an aspiring director, because you would be the one to sort of learn the staging, know the staging, and then make sure that the singers are keeping on track with that staging every single night. You're around in the theater every night. I mean, I love when the assistant director, when I was in Barcelona this year, the assistant director would come in of Aida and give me notes, 10 or so minutes before the curtain. And she would say, hey, last show you did this, but it might be even better for you if you did this, or, last show you forgot to, don't forget that tonight, or, and it's always super helpful and kind of keeps your brain from getting bored in like a 9 to 15 show run, which can happen, especially, in Europe, that happens.
Just to follow
so
up,
being an AD is a good way. Yeah.
Just about, because I do email directors or opera houses directly. If you have the relationship with the director, you can certainly talk to them. But in most American houses, the director and the AD aren't necessarily attached. So the AD is part of the sort of stage management staging team. AD, stage management, all that is sort of fixed in a house, and the directors come and go. That's usual. Now, a director may bring an AD especially if it's a really big show or two casts or something, or they have to leave early, so the AD is going to take over. But it's best to talk to the house directly. And all opera houses there will be jobs again, and people will post, need ADs.
Yes, they will.
There will be. So yeah,
they will. Well, Scott, I want to thank you.
Question? Is there anything
you want to do? One more question. I saw an interesting one that said, where is it? How likely, this is from Rita, how likely is someone without a master's degree to get into a young artist program? That's interesting to me.
So for me, I don't care where you learn to sing. I don't care who you learn to sing from, right? So I don't care if you went to Juilliard, and I also don't care if you went to Eastern Tennessee University. I'm making something up. I don't know if it exists. If you learn to sing, and you learn to sing well, that's all I care about. Now, that might take some people, I think probably the benefit of the master's degree is just a little bit more time. Now, do I think that there are way too many institutions out there granting master's degrees to people that haven't mastered the craft? Absolutely. And I think it's criminal. If you want to be brutally honest with you, granting a master's degree, if you can't do calculus, I couldn't have got my master's in math, right? And if you can't sing in tune, just because you have a master's degree doesn't mean you're useful. It just means you spend a lot of money and you're in debt and you can't sing in tune. So you have to find the people that teach you how to sing well, right? And I would say yes. I mean, most people say it's a master's degree just because you get the extra amount of language and extra amount of diction, coaching, all of these things. But there's always going to be exceptions. There's always going to be that shooting star that finishes their bachelor's and they're just ready to go, because that happens in every aspect of life, right?
And some schools have that. Some schools have that artist diploma too, where it's not a master's degree, but it gives them another year or 2 years where they can continue studying a language, studying acting, studying this or whatever. It's. I remember being at Indiana University, and we had two. They had two. Kate Lindsay was one of them. Kate Lindsay was an amazing mezzo soprano. She wasn't in a graduate program at Indiana University. She was a very, very talented undergrad, and she went for an artist diploma, artist certificate there, and did, I think, a year and a half or something, and then went forward. But Kate was insanely talented and had a mastery over her technique very early on, which was incredible. But I do know that in that artist certificate, she did opera workshop, and she did language coaching, and she had coachings with the directors, and she did the operas and things like that. The only thing that I would say you would miss from a graduate program would be all those other things that you would have to pay a lot for in the outside world to get yourself, specifically like even, I know this sounds crazy, but opera history is actually quite important to know the style and the time period and what was going on politically and why things were written, and to know that like what the composers were writing in their letters to different family members. I mean, that kind of stuff it really fulfills each of the operas that you do in a different way. The language study is so important. I mean, in this career, you can't go overseas and be an international singer if you don't speak another language. You will not, everyone will not speak English. They won't. I promise you, it's very hard to get a whole cast that actually speaks English overseas. They just don't do it. So that kind of stuff, the acting training, the opera workshop, the stagecraft, that kind of stuff would cost you a lot of money. I mean, maybe less than graduate school, but it would cost a lot, and it would take a lot of effort to kind of put that together for yourself outside of an institution. That's just my opinion, though. That there's definitely other ways to do it. Yeah. So guys, thank you. So Scott, thank you so much for all of this information. This was, one of the best classes that we had. I mean, really, our beautiful singers. Thank you, Gina, Megan, Alexandria, Madison Marie, and Sabina. Fantastic work from all of you. Really, I mean, this was a full this was full talent right here. I love it. As with every single week, we do not charge for these classes. We don't need you to pay for this information. We just want you to have it. But we do appreciate your donations for Fort Worth Opera if you can afford it. This is not mandatory. We don't need you to do it, but if you do have some extra money lying around, everyone in the business right now is struggling, and we want to continue to keep bringing you this wonderful content and wonderful guests and this time. So check the chat. Ryan just put up a link. If you can donate $5, please do. We really appreciate it, and everyone at Fort Worth Opera really appreciates it as well. Next Saturday, we will not be having a class because it's a holiday weekend, so take a break. However, we will be having, and this is really exciting, we will be having a live Zoom lecture on Thursday next week with the amazing and fabulous Jenna Wolf. Jenna is a PR and marketing representative from the PR company Lenny's Studio. Lenny's Studio is run by Catherine Pizzaroni, who is Luca Pizzaroni's wife. And we will be talking all about social media. We will be talking about how to use it, how to run your own page, how to market yourself, how to build your website, how to get the best photos, how to use your social media presence to get people to your performances, to get people to classes like this. So this will be Thursday evening. We haven't decided on a specific time yet, but it will be Thursday evening. We'll put something out on Monday. And like every other week, you can email the masterclass at fwopera.org to request your place to audit. Now, I'm telling you, everybody in this room right now, you are knowing before we put this out on Monday. So if you send your email to Ryan right now at that email address, you guarantee yourself a spot first before anybody else. And we only have so many spots. So if you want to be a part of this, it's going to be interactive. We're going to be taking your questions the whole time. Hopefully my screen sharing is going to work. And we're going to be able to show you good profiles, bad profiles, what to do, what not to do, all of that stuff. We have all kinds of stuff planned for you. So that's going to be Thursday. What is that, July 2nd? Is that the 2nd, Ryan? Yeah, and it's going to be in the evening. So it's probably going to be like 6 or 7 Eastern. So if anybody's working, you can come and join us with your glass of wine after work. Then the following weekend on July 11th, and I'm so excited to announce this, we will have Josh Winograde, who is the head of LA Opera, and he is going to be talking to us about transitioning from the YAP world into the emerging professional world. So we're going to take this information that Scott has given us this week, and then we're going to make that transition into becoming an emerging professional, auditioning for companies, auditioning for managers. And he is just, I mean, he is just a doll. I adore him. And so I'm so happy that we're going to have him. This is going to be July 11th at 2 p.m., Saturday, July 11th at 2 p.m. There are a couple of spots still open to sing on his class and the future classes in July. So if you want to audition and haven't sent us your materials, please send them. The applications are rolling. We have a list of people that we're considering for all of the upcoming classes. So please do apply. If you want to audit Josh's class on July 11th, I am giving you the heads up right now. You get a week's advance notice before we let the public know. So you get to be first in line for that class. So if you're going to write for the social media class on Thursday, include you also want Josh's class on Saturday, July 11th. Okay? Thank you guys so much. This class was awesome. I'm going to like jump off the walls all day long because it was so great. Scott, thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
And I'm so sorry we kept you literally all afternoon, but you have so much information and I just was like, oh, I love it. Ryan, thank you, honey, for hosting and keeping everybody muted, unmuted, all the other stuff. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. You guys are awesome as usual. Thank you for all the positivity in the chat. I love all of you, and these classes are such a huge highlight of my week. So thank you all so much for being here with us. And with that, we'll sign off for the week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great
Bye.
weekend.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Ryan. Bye, guys.
Bye.